All right, well, good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Chris Holtzman here. Of course, the weekend is upon us, and we're tracking several things, one of which the tropics. So if you were watching this morning, our newscast certainly had several updates to talk about with regards to Tropical Depression 4. Let me show you what we have right now. And with that, here's the system, Tropical Depression 4. This system not looking super impressive right now over Cuba. There's a higher elevation in Cuba that's likely interacting with this system. As the system emerges over the Gulf of Mexico, there's very warm ocean water that will allow the system to strengthen. So if you're just joining us this morning, we are tracking our next named system. This eventually will become Debbie, and it will likely become Debbie at some point this weekend. 8 o'clock update from the Hurricane Center still has this as a tropical depression, but this system is moving more rapidly offshore of Cuba. Let me show you the latest information from the National Hurricane Center, and with that, we have winds of 30 miles per hour as of the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Currently moving at about 16 miles per hour, and watch what happens as I advance the track here. So this system is forecast between Sunday and Monday to move over the Gulf of Mexico, eventually making landfall over the Big Bend of Florida, right along Florida's west coast as a borderline hurricane. So this is when it will become Debbie, likely at some point very late today or early tomorrow morning. Now, where does the system go from here? Well, this is where we start to run into issues for our area. Morning guidance has slowed down the system significantly. And look at between Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, and Thursday morning. This system practically is not even moving at all. And the actual track has potentially the center of the system stalling over very warm ocean water off our coast, and that would lead to strengthening, which is why you see by Thursday morning the system practically over us with winds of 65 miles per hour. And that's something we've been noticing with our guidance this morning, the slowing down of this activity. The Hurricane Center has actually mentioned that we could see storm motion with the system around 5 knots or less. That is very slow, and that's why even if this is a tropical storm, the impacts right now could be very high because of the rainfall potential, the wind, and even the threat for tornadoes, coastal flooding, and flooding, as I mentioned. So let's break down the timing of what to expect. This is one of our models, the European model. I showed this on air this morning. So as we advance with this model into the day on Saturday, so for today, emerging over the Gulf of Mexico, notice that swirl there with the wind. And then as we head into Sunday, notice by 10 o'clock, likely just approaching the coast of Florida there. After Sunday, watch over our area because the system is so large. We start to get rain in here on Monday. The actual center of the storm still over the Big Bend of Florida, and then this thing moves slowly. Watch as I put this into motion through Thursday. So here we go into motion. There's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then even into Friday. Notice how it's several days where the system basically meanders right over our area. Now, where that eye actually makes landfall will play a big role into our forecast for coastal flooding. Remember, the right side of the system, that's where you get that onshore component, and that would lead to the highest storm surge totals. Regardless of where the eye makes landfall, very heavy rain, though, is likely over our area over several days between, say, late Sunday into potentially a Thursday. And that could lead to some very high rainfall totals should this track hold. In fact, let me show you another model we look at. This is the GFS model. Watch what happens here. So by Sunday into Monday, notice over our area starting to see some very heavy rain by Monday morning. The actual center of the storm by Tuesday is close by, very heavy rain on Tuesday. And then watch as I advance through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Notice the system kind of meanders over the open waters of the Atlantic and still brings rain into our area through Friday night. So that's why we're still seeing differences as to speed. Both models are very slow, but the GFS likes to keep this around longer. And that's why I'm saying even if this is a tropical storm, we need to pay attention to that rainfall forecast. I have upped it significantly from yesterday's forecast. Basically anywhere east of 95 at this current time, should the speed and track hold, we could see the potential for 7 to even 10 inches of rain. West of 95 is where we could see the potential for 4 to even 7 inches. But I have to be honest with you, some of our guidance is trending even higher. And should the system stall, we could even see potential rainfall totals over a foot of rain, depending on where this actually sets up. But right now, pretty good consensus that our area is at least expecting significant impacts in terms of rainfall with flooding. Remember, we will be looking at this over several days. It's not a one-day event where we see these totals. It's spread out over the week. So that's our latest rainfall forecast with this system. So I just want to go through everything once again. If you're just joining us, the actual system we're tracking is still over the area of Cuba and then the Gulf of Mexico there. Very large system. Where this system will go from here is eventually reemerge by later today into the Gulf of Mexico. And then once it goes through the Gulf of Mexico, makes landfall over Florida, likely redevelops just off our coast, and at the same time, as it goes off the coast, if this track holds, that would lead to re-strengthening, which is why you see the Hurricane Center forecast actually ups it from 40 miles per hour on Tuesday to 65 miles per hour on Thursday. So anytime between Monday and late Thursday, and that's when we have the potential to see locally heavy rainfall, gusty wind with perhaps gusts up to 50 to even 60 miles per hour. Highest gusts will be, of course, offshore. But if you're on the right side of the storm, that's where we could see the strongest wind. And some of our computer models are picking up on that slow movement. Here's one of them right here. You can see through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even into early Friday, this thing slows down. There's really nothing to steer it. We want the system to not remain over ocean water for a long time. So if we can get a track where the eye is more inland, that would be more in our favor as to the strength of the system. Regardless, though, it looks like heavy rain will be likely. So there's one model, and then the next model right there shows practically the same thing, although this one tends to keep it around a little bit longer. So we are at least watching the potential several days over the upcoming week of potentially heavy rain, even the threat, by the way, for tornadoes, depending on where this system eventually tracks. And the latest rainfall totals, there it is right there. You can see highest totals east of Interstate 95, less totals west of Interstate 95. So we certainly have updated a lot of things this morning. I'll keep an eye on the data. Our next update from the Hurricane Center with regards to a new track, or cone is what we call it, is at 11 o'clock this morning. So once that's released, I'll come back with another update. Of course, if you have not downloaded the Live 5 weather app, definitely a good time to do so. You can get the latest information on this system. Also, we have our website, a hurricane section on the weather page there on live5news.com. So definitely check that out. You can check what to get when you prepare for systems like this. And it's always good to have a plan in place now because we are expecting at least some impact from this system. So I'll leave you right now with a look at our rainfall forecast over the next several days, and I'll see you back at 11 with an update.